Hello there, my lovely viewers. This is yours truly, PuckFan68. This is going to be, well, I'm sure you can pretty much read, but if just in case you can't, this is going to be a how to play Freeciv thing. I saw that on my old 3-year-old to be exact video of Let's Play Freeciv. Quite a lot of people commented, how do you play? Also, I saw that about 1,200 views on that video came from people searching how to play Freeciv tutorial, stuff like that. So I am giving you what you want at last, a tutorial. 3 years late, but better late than never. If the thing will fucking work. Why won't you work? Okay. Now it's working. I had to load. Alright. Now, I don't have to do this necessarily, because if you download Freeciv, at least later versions, with the scenarios, it'll have a tutorial scenario. Play this tutorial scenario to gain the introduction to Freeciv. You can basically learn all you want, but I think that videos are better because you can go back, revisit them from time to time, which is fairly useful. Which I quite like. Alright, user detached. I guess you could just watch the AIs go at it, but it would be too fast paced, so I'm just gonna take an AI. Can I not? Okay. There we are. I want to take first player. Alright. What tutorial does is it gives you two players. The AI skill level is set to easy as default, apparently. You're given a pretty small map, just got hair in my mouth. Blah. Gives you a pretty small map with pretty much basic settings. You get a settler and explorer, and this is basically it. Alright, before I get into the game, I'm gonna talk to you about the different game settings. I'm sure y'all can figure these out by yourself, but again, I feel that video is far better for teaching something, because you can go back and revisit it. Excuse me. Excuse me again. Let's see. Geological. This basically defines the map, the size of the map, the water to land ratio, the mountain to plains, the mountains to lowlands ratio, temperature, all that fun stuff. Map size definition, basically what map size definition is, it gives you three choices: number of tiles, tiles per player, width and height. What these three correspond to: number of tiles, map area, tiles per player, number of land tiles per player, and width and height, map width in tiles, and map height in tiles. So you can define it in three different ways. Map topology index, you can choose whether, if it wraps east and west, north and south. You can choose if it's going to be isometric, which is basically a pseudo 3D view, more like a 2.5D view. It gives the impression that the units are 3D by viewing the map board from a certain angle, but in reality everything's still 3D. It's just the squares are more diamond shape in reality. But I don't like playing that way, so I'm going to take that off. You can also play it hexagonal, like Civ 5, if you want to. I've never played it hexagonal on Mate in a different Freeciv Let's Play after I finished the one with the 2P. Okay. So yeah, basically what these two do, wrap east and west. You can basically turn all this off, and it's just one flat map. But playing east and west, you can you can just go one direction, either east or west, and you'll come back at the same spot if you went in a straight line. And wrap north and south, if you go either north or south in a straight line, you'll come back to the same spot. And you have both on, it'll become a donut world. Now what that is basically, a donut world is the easiest way for a program to simulate a sphere-like structure. So for example, on a donut world in Freeciv, I could pretty much go either north, south, east, west, northeast, southwest, northwest, southeast in a straight line, and eventually come back to my starting point. So yeah, with both these on, it's pretty much like a actual Earth world. But I usually like play with east and west on. Let's see, method used to generate map. There are 4 different choices. Scenario map, which is really only used for scenario maps with set terrain, like for example Europe, Earth, Japan. Fully random height, which is just completely random, I think. I'm not sure about all the details. Pseudo-fractal height, which I think is somewhat random, but some of it is set. And island base, which is basically it sets everyone on their own little island. Or just makes a shit ton of archipelagos, or just puts 2 people per island, or such and such. Method to I'm just gonna put it back there. Method to choose start positions. You get 5 different choices. Generator's choice, which is completely random, I believe. 1 player per continent, which some would say is fairer, but it's a lot more boring in the beginning, and you need to focus more on Navy, which is really boring, and really only works with island based, anyways. 2 or 3 players per continent. This is this is a bit more fun than 1 player per continent, some would say. I like to choose this just because I would like to have a little competition, but not too much in my own games for fun. And this last one, all players on a single continent. Basically, this just puts everyone on the same place, and if you have a small ass continent with like 20 different players, you're gonna have a shit ton of wars going on at the same time. All against you. Trust me. And depending on size of continents, this is just basically depending on size of land. Like if it's 10 by 10, you might just be by yourself, or if it's 30 by 30, you might be with another person, or if it's 200 by 200, you might be with like 4 other people. So yeah, I'm just gonna put depending on size of continents. Presence of 1 by 1 islands. You can either check yes or no. I usually like to check yes. Basically, what it does is it allows the map generator to create little tiny 1 by 1 islands, which are just what they are, 1 by 1 squares. Basically, what they use for these is to add a little variety to sort of simulate the tiny islands that you would probably see in real life Earth, like for example some of the Samoan Islands, some of the Pacific Islands like Tahiti, for example. But another thing, it also adds a strategic element to naval and air wars, because on these little islands you could put a fortress on them. And because fortresses don't require anything to keep them other than keeping a unit in them to keep them safe from being taken over, you can basically build little island fortresses that are very difficult to take over, and that only enemy marines or bombers with landing units could take. Also with these little islands, in the late game, you can build airfields on them, which just adds another strategic element, allows you to basically do island hopping and just basically go all World War II on their asses. which is really fun. Although I've never really gone to that point yet. Oh well, hopefully I will in the current Let's Play. Let's see, whether the poles are separate continents, you can do this to, this is just personal preference. It either connects the north and southern ice caps to the main continents, or it doesn't connect them. It's usually not a game changer. Although when they're connected, it is easier to explore the entire world without more of the world without a sea in it. But I prefer to have them as separate. All the map is temperate. You can put this on if you are tired of being put in deserts or tundra, which happen to me quite a lot, or jungle. Basically what it does is it gets rid of all the temperature and moisture affected tiles and just gives you grassland, plains, forests, hills, and mountains, and that's pretty much it, I believe. With it off, you'll get tundra, desert, jungle, swamp, such and such. Average temperature of the planet, obviously lower temperature, more Arctic and more tundra, higher temperature, more jungle and desert. Percentage of the map that is land, obviously it speaks for itself. Lower is less percentage, higher is more percentage. Amount of hills and mountains, I don't know what this really means. I think it's percentage of land tiles that are hills and mountains, which I guess would make sense. I'm not sure. Amount of water on land masses affects the number of jungles and swamp and desert, pretty much. Global warming and nuclear winter. These you can turn these off, and you don't have to worry about pollution, except for well, you do have to worry about pollution, but you don't have to worry about global warming caused by pollution, and you don't have to worry about nuclear winter caused by nukes. But I like to leave these on to add a little bit more realism. Amount of special resource tiles. These are basically like I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how it does it, but the higher the number, the more tiles that have special resources on them. Lower number, the less tiles that have special resources on them, which are like buffalo, grain, whales, fish, etc. Amount of huts or minor tribe villages. Higher number, more of them. Lower number, less of them. And they're basically like, and they can either do nothing, give you tax, become barbarians, all sorts of things. On to sociological. How far? Damn. Now I'm gonna try to rush through the rest of this. Let's see. List of players' initial units. You can change what kind of units the players start off with. The different units are settlers, explorers, workers, warriors, phalanxes, horsemen, catapults, a king, which if your king dies, you lose the game automatically. Even whether you have one city left or the entire world, if you lose your king, you lose the game. I like to add in, if I'm gonna go into a huge map with these huge empires, and I don't feel like taking them all, so I just go in, kill the king, and just sell what land I want to. And I believe that's it. Let me check real quick if they'll let me. I don't know why, but my computer's finicky about like showing me the little window that pops up. I don't know. I can't remember the rest. It's not showing me. Oh well. Area where initial units are located. 0 means they all start on the same square. 1 means they start either on a center square or one square outside of that center square, and it just goes up and up in radius as you go up. I like to keep it at 0. I like to keep everything organized. Minimum distance between cities. This can limit smallpox strategies. I usually like to set it to, what was it? Yeah, 3, because it limits the AI from going full-on smallpox, but it also allows you to arrange your cities in a large pox section, which uses your territory to the most that they can be used. Technology trading, gold trading, city trading. I like to leave all these on. Basically, they allow you to trade technology, gold, or city. Number of turns between Rapture Effect. This has to do with like republics and democracies and celebration. Basically, if your city's in celebration and you have either republic or democracy, I'm not sure if it's just democracy, but I think if it's you have either of those in your city's in celebration, it'll grow and exercise in the next turn, and this basically determines how many turns before it can increase in size again because of celebration. Allow city names. Either there are 4 options: unique, no restrictions, unique to a player, globally unique, or no city name stealing. Basically, no restrictions. Anything's game. You could have 5 million cities named Bob for all it cares, with no restrictions on. Unique to a player. Every city needs to have a different name. It could be Bob 1, Bob 2, Bob 3, but it has to be different somehow. Globally unique. Every city has to have a different name in the world, so you can't have like 2. I know there are 2 civilizations, the Israelis, but I'm not sure what other one. I think maybe Arabia or Egypt, maybe, I'm not sure. But if you have 2 civilizations, but for example, if you had 2 civilizations that both could sell the city Jerusalem, the first one to sell Jerusalem would get to keep that city name. But the second one that had Jerusalem, that didn't sell Jerusalem first, would have to get that city's different name other than Jerusalem. So yeah, and it works for all those city names as well. So you can't have 2 Bob 1s owned by different civilizations in one. And no city name stealing. I don't really like to use that one. It's a bit boring, not very historical, iffy thingamajiggy thing. I don't know. Basically what it means is if a civilization has Jerusalem in its city name document thing, but another civilization that just conquered that city doesn't have the city name Jerusalem in its city name document thingy, then it can't keep the city name Jerusalem. It has to change it to something that's in its document, or rename it itself. So yeah, length in terms of revolution, maximum is 10. Damn, I didn't know that. You can increase it from 1 to 10. If it's set to 0, then it's at a random number between 1 and 10 each time you go in revolution. So yeah, minimum number of cities for civil war. I like to... Damn! They really changed it. I like to have it at 10, just because it's a nice round number. Basically, what this means is if you have this number of cities, and your capital is taken, then you are prone to falling into civil war. And that's a pretty interesting feature I should tell you about once I get into the game. And I think I might have to cut this into a second part, sadly. Whether you use natural city names, I like to have this off. Basically, what this means is if it's on, your suggested city name will be determined by the surrounding terrain. Which I don't like to have that on. It's a bit annoying sometimes. Whether to enable citizen migration, I usually leave this off. But basically this and these other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 6 options here all have to do with migration, which is a fun... Well, I don't know. I'm sure it's fun to some people, but an interesting concept to Freeciv. Basically what migration is it mimics the real world somewhat more, where people migrate from city to city and country to country. I've played with it a couple of times. It's not as fun as I thought it would be. I'm sure it would be more fun late game. But basically just These 6 options have to do with migrating and limiting migration and possibility of migrating to another country or to another city in the same country. So yeah, you can check all that out yourself. I'm just gonna skip this because it's not really needed to really play the game. You can just have it off and you can play a normal, still fun Freeciv game. So if you want to have migration, then you can go into it yourself, try it out, check it out, see if you like it or not. So yeah, it's usually not a game changer. Unless you have it on, you have big city. I'm just going to leave the subject now. This turn the game ends sets the turn that the game ends at. For example, turn 5000. If it's set to this, the game will end on turn 5000, no matter what. But a cool thing is, in-game, you can go into the game settings, and I'll show you how to access them from the game, from in-game. You can change this to any value you want. For example, sometimes when I want to see what nations spawned in the correct location in a scenario map, I just pretty much set to turn the game ends to 0, or the current turn, so that it'll end right there and I can see the whole world and see where everyone spawned and see if they spawned in the correct place and see if I want to play with them again to make a realistic game or a somewhat realistic game. So yeah, that's a good time to end this part. That was very weird. Huh. Well, anyways, that's still a good time to end this part. Yeah, I'll see you in part 2 of how to play Freeciv. See ya. Come on.